A man who's definitely a good husband and a man who's definitely a good Guardians observer, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Lada. He joins us from the Locked On Guardians podcast. It's every single day, and he had 10 days that he was hating things. But they got it going here over the last couple of days. And I want to know whether or not it's a front office problem or it's an ownership problem with the Guardians, or if that's a real problem whatsoever, or are we just pretty upset because they had a 10-game losing streak? Justin joins us on the North Homestead Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram hotline. Justin, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, my neighbors only ever heard me scream about the Guardians, not fights with my wife, so I can tell you that.
One day I will tell you guys, it has to be off air, of the crazy things my neighbor was saying, and we wanted to call the cops because we thought it was we thought it might be a DV situation, and it ended up he was playing video games. And we knocked on the door, and he's like, hello, can I help you? And I'm like, is everything okay over there? And he's like, yeah, I'm playing video games. And he was playing video games. It was weird. My roommate and I, we were thrown off by it. We used to just sit down and watch the Indians back in the day, and now we sit here and we get mad about the Guardians today. And Justin, let me ask you, do you think that it's a problem at all, or do you think that we have to divvy it up between the front office and the ownership, considering Guardians' problems?
I mean, when you go through a 10-game losing streak, I think everybody's at fault, right? Especially when you're coming off a team that went to the ALCS a year ago and you have these kind of struggles. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things. It's not an overnight problem. It's one of those things that bubbles up over the last couple of years, and it has to do a lot with draft cycles and player development cycles and not keeping the right guys and injuries. So, and you have a second-year manager who everybody, needs to realize that managing is one of those things too, where there's development is not linear.
Yeah, Justin, when things start going south, I understand the fans' reaction. We've talked about it endlessly, what the Guardians could have done this offseason, and it seems like every move they made was the wrong move. But which one to you were you speaking out about at the time while it was going on?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, they didn't add anything offensively. They only subtracted. I wanted to believe that Carlos Santana and Josh Naylor was going to be sort of a one-to-one production-wise. And, Naylor was having a pretty solid year. Santana's, had some ups and downs this year. He certainly is not the guy he was, 10 years ago. He's still not the guy he was 6 years ago when he was an all-star here. I think that's the toughest one to look at is you didn't really compliment anything. Like, you were hoping that David Fry came back this year off Tommy John and was going to be the same player he was the first couple months when he was an all-star. So there was just no real fail-safe where if things didn't work out, you had no one to turn to, and you wanted to turn to maybe, Juan Brito, who's been hurt, or Chase Delors, who isn't up yet, which I'm sure we definitely won't scream about at all. There was just no fail-safe, and then those guys got hurt, and there was no option, and there was no depth to turn to when things got bad, and that's why you see, Jonathan Rodriguez and Will Wilson, guys that really probably aren't major leaguers long-term for a team that believes they're contending for a playoff spot.
I mean, I just got caught in my feelings on Sunday, Justin, when I'm seeing that lineup, and then you find out about everything, and then Chase Delauder is not up here. I don't think they make decisions out of spite, but why are they waiting so long to bring guys up? Because we've heard a bunch of conspiracy theories. I'm like, well, Justin knows the minors as well as anybody here. So what is the reason for them not calling guys up yet?
They can't get out of their apartment lease in Columbus. I don't know. Like, I don't really have a great answer to that right now. Maybe it's the only thing for it, or maybe there's something other down there that, they need to get excited about besides Diamond Dog Night. I don't know. The Chase Delauder thing, like, the only thing I can really, really sink my teeth into is you don't want to sit him for a couple of days. You want to hamstring your roster. Like, if he needs to have that whole volume build-up thing, you can't have him and David Fry in the roster because David Fry can't play against righties and he can't play the field, so he's a very limited player. And if you want Chase Delauder to get a day off every 4 games or every 5 games, you kind of have 2 players there that don't really fit. And then you also have Kyle Manzardo, who can only play first base. I know he's not with the team right now, but like, you have a very unclear roster construction right now where he doesn't quite fit. But, Jonathan Rodriguez is up right now and he barely plays. And when he does, it doesn't make any sense anyway. You want to try to make everything perfect, right? You don't want Chase Delauder to face lefties. You don't want him to play 5 days in a row. You don't want him to face Hunter Brown or Tarek Skubal. But, like, you can try to control all those factors you want, but at some point the guy's got to get used to the major leagues, and I think you should do that at some point. So I don't really have a good answer other than just it's an unperfect roster fit, and they're not willing to make a move that makes the roster even more unperfect.
How Justin Lada joining us from the Locked On Guardians podcast. Find him on Twitter at JL_baseball. How successful do you think Chase DeLauder will be when he finally gets up here?
I mean, every rookie struggles. I mean, it's been a couple weeks since I've looked this up, but the last time I checked, he faced like under 12 fastballs in the minors that were over 94 miles an hour. And, in the major leagues now, if you're throwing 94, that's average. So he's going to face that. He's going to face sliders he's never faced before. He's going to face changeups he's never faced before. But you have to find out. Like, you have to see him struggle against these things. Outside of injuries, this guy has not really faced a ton of baseball adversity, like on the field. Like, he's succeeded at every level. And I really like the underlying data at AAA. He doesn't chase out of the zone. He makes a lot of contact in the zone. He hits the ball hard. He hits the ball in the air. He does a lot of things really well that I think are going to set him up for success at the major league level. He's going to struggle. Like, major league pitching is really good. AAA pitching is really not good. So he's going to have to make those adjustments. He's definitely going to go through that adjustment period. But wouldn't you want to make that adjustment like now? And even if this season is a lost cause, he can be prepared to overcome those things for 2026, and you can maybe get back on the right track. I mean, I think he's ready for it. I just, he's going to have to go through that adjustment period at some point.
When it comes to Travis Bazan, Keith Law was the first one to write about him a while ago, and I'm like, man, it's early. He just got hurt with the oblique. But Mike Axisa, he just wrote from CBS Sports, like if he was going to do a redraft, the Guardians would have taken that pitcher that the Reds just took, which I can't remember overall. You would know right off the top of your head. I'm drawing a brain fart here, Justin. Are people outside of the organization, outside of the fan base, being too hard on Travis Bazan?
Yeah, absolutely. Chase Burns was the guy that went to the Reds.
Chase Burns, damn it, thank you.
He had a great first start, and then he got one out in his second start against the Red Sox. Like, he's still a development in progress, too, and he doesn't have a third pitch. People think he could be a reliever. I think he's a really good pitcher, but no, you can't do redrafts starting a year later. It hasn't even been a full year. I mean, the draft is next week. You can't do a redraft a year later. I mean, yes, there are certain guys who are making their major league debut a lot sooner than they used to in the past, and obviously Bazan is on the IL, and he hasn't, but no, I mean, he was definitely going through some things at AAA. He was, caught between some swing decisions. He was struggling against left-handers, but, even amid those struggles, his numbers were still solid. Are they what you maybe thought they would be out of college? Maybe not, but he was still doing pretty well, and he would easily be in AAA, I think, right now if he was healthy and he's finally rehabbing. But, yeah, it's way too early on those things, and I still think the set of tools there and the work ethic and all those things that go into that, I still think he's the right pick a year later.
All right, Justin Lada with us right now on the hotline. We've got the trade deadline coming up at the end of the month. So everybody has pointed to Carlos Santana potentially getting traded. Not sure what the market is going to be. What could you see right now the Guardians doing at the deadline?
It's going to be tough because there's just not going to be that many sellers, right? Because of all these extra wild card spots in baseball now. Everyone's kind of just sitting in the middle and nobody knows what they're going to do until like the last 48 hours. So maybe things will heat up the last 48 hours, but I feel like last year the trade market was pretty bleak. I mean, getting Alex Cobb was like the most exciting thing besides Lane Thomas, and look how that worked out. He hasn't even pitched this year either. I think they probably do a soft sell at this point. Santana, I think the Mariners will have interest. Paul Sewald could be a guy teams are interested in because he's a veteran in the postseason. And if he pitches well over the next couple of weeks, I think teams will be interested in him. I don't know if they'll find any suitors for Jake Junis. Maybe someone needs a depth arm. Outside of that, I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot to sell. I know people want to jump on trading Clase or trading Nquin. The market, I don't think, is really going to be there for those guys at this time of season. And it doesn't make any sense for them. Do they feel like they're contenders next year? Maybe. I think the Class A thing, if you really want to explore that, is an off-season conversation, not a July conversation. Because look at the past. Like, you guys remember the Andrew Miller trade when Cleveland got Andrew Miller? Of
course.
Look what the Yankees got for him. Like, I was flaming mad at the time over trading Clint Frazier. I was wrong about that. The Yankees got nothing out of that trade. Like, you can trade those guys all you want right now, but the reality is trading a closer, as cheap as Class A is, your return is not going to be a player that helps you in 2026. So I just don't think that there's a market for that makes sense for them right now, unless somebody really overpays, which we just haven't seen over the last couple of years.
Final one from me. I'm not even going to ask you about Stephen Kwan because I don't think it's a conversation piece, right? I can move on?
No, I don't think it makes sense right now either.
Absolutely. Okay. Tyler Nquin, 34 years old. He's back at Lake County now as a pitcher. He's throwing mid-90s. Did well at the Arizona Complex League. Will we see him at all with the Guardians at any time? I'm not even just talking about this year or in the bigs again.
Yeah, that's hard to say. Pitching's really hard too. Hitting's hard. Pitching's just as hard. The guy hasn't done it since he was in high school. He's finally doing it. Facing teenagers in Arizona, facing 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds in high A is way different. So I don't know. I mean, the guy's 35. I hope he can do it.
You're gonna go
to see a guy back making that journey and who's almost as old as I am. But I think it's one of those stories that would be a great movie, but I don't know if it's going to be a good ending.
You're going to go watch him, aren't you?
Oh, I'll be there next week. Absolutely.
Folks, follow him on Twitter, on social media at JL_baseball. He's the host of Locked On Guardians, Justin Lada. Justin, thank you very much for the time, bud.
Always enjoy talking to you guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Justin Lada on that North Homestead Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram hotline.